think. If you imagine like a 2x2 matrix of sort of short timelines until the AGI takeoff era begins, and long timelines until it begins, and then a slow takeoff or a fast takeoff. The world I think we're heading to, and the safest world, the one I most hope for, is the short timeline, slow takeoff. But I think people are going to have hugely different opinions about when and there you kind of like declare victory on the AGI thing.
Sam Altman essentially stated that everything is about to change. He shared this sentiment in a tweet, which reads, "I always wanted to write a 6-word story, and here it is, near the singularity, unclear which side." For most people, this tweet might not seem like a groundbreaking moment. But for those of us in the AI space, it holds significant weight. Here's why. First, it comes from the CEO of one of the most influential labs in artificial intelligence. Second, it touches on the concept of the singularity, an incredibly important idea we need to grasp. When the singularity happens, it will undoubtedly bring profound and irreversible changes. However, the challenge lies in defining when exactly this pivotal moment will occur, a question that continues to spark debate. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of the singularity, let me break it down for you. The singularity refers to a hypothetical future moment when technological advancements become uncontrollable and irreversible, leading to profound changes in human civilization. This idea is often linked to the development of superintelligent AI, machines that surpass human capabilities in virtually every aspect. Such a breakthrough could drastically accelerate technological progress in ways that are impossible for us to fully predict or even comprehend. Now, take a look at this diagram. It illustrates the progression leading up to the singularity. Over time, human intelligence has remained relatively constant, with slow improvements supported by advancements like modern medicine. However, the invention of computers marks a turning point. From that moment, machine intelligence begins to rise. Eventually, it surpasses human intelligence and accelerates at an exponential rate. This point of rapid escalation is what many theorists refer to as the singularity. Notice how the intellectual growth curve shifts from gradual progress to a near-vertical surge. There's ongoing debate about what happens when we reach the singularity. While opinions differ, one thing is clear. This could be the most critical moment in our future. It's called the singularity for a reason. Just as a black hole's event horizon conceals what lies beyond, the singularity represents a threshold where the future becomes nearly impossible to predict. As we edge closer to this transformative era, it's essential to recognize the immense significance of this moment. The singularity could redefine everything we know about technology, humanity, and civilization. And while the exact outcomes are uncertain, some experts have proposed theories about what might unfold. Ray Kurzweil has been remarkably accurate in predicting the pace of technological development, particularly in the realms of AI, computing, and advanced technologies. Over the years, he has established himself as a leading voice in the futurist world. A renowned American inventor, computer scientist, and futurist, Ray Kurzweil is celebrated for his groundbreaking work in pattern recognition, AI, and human-computer interaction. His contributions to technology have been nothing short of transformative. When it comes to the concept of the singularity, a point where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence, Kurzweil is one of the most respected experts on the subject. According to his predictions, the singularity is expected to occur by the year 2045. When we hear statements from people like Sam Altman, they bring attention to the fact that we are approaching the singularity. This serves as a wake-up call. For a long time, we thought of the singularity as something far off, like in 2045, and felt no urgency to address it. But now, Sam Altman, one of the key leaders in the field and CEO of a leading lab, is saying, hey, we're actually close to the singularity. That realization is a significant wake-up call for all of us. One of his major predictions was that we'll achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence, by 2029. Each passing year, his forecasts seem increasingly realistic as advancements in technology continue to unfold. It's crucial to understand the concept of the singularity because it has the potential to fundamentally transform everything. In an interview, he discusses the year 2045. While advancements in technology may cause this timeline to shift, some sources suggest that his predictions have an accuracy rate of approximately 80 to 90%.
2045 is a little bit different than AGI. AGI is basically equivalent to one human, a very good human that knows everything, but it's basically one human. We'll be able to multiply our intelligence about 1,000,000-fold by 2045, and that's what we call the singularity. It's not just becoming capable of being one human, but really have a knowledge of basically 1,000,000 humans by 2045. And that's so difficult that we borrow this metaphor from physics and call it a singularity.
Now, if you're curious about some more unbelievable predictions and events that might unfold soon, stay tuned. I'll dive deeper into Sam's statement in just a moment. You definitely won't want to miss this. It's mind-blowing and almost impossible to imagine right now. But here's the thing. Rayo has been consistently forecasting many of the developments we're witnessing today.
When we get to the 2030s, nanobots will connect our brains to the cloud, just the way your phone does. It'll expand intelligence 1,000,000-fold by 2045. That is the singularity. We will be funnier, sexier, smarter, more creative, free from biological limitations. We'll be able to choose our appearance. We'll be able to do things we can't do today, like visualize objects in 11 dimensions. We can speak all languages. We'll be able to expand consciousness in ways we can barely imagine. We'll experience richer culture with our extra years. So I've recently become a grandfather. I'm very much looking forward to that, spending more time with family, friends, loving and being loved, all enhanced by AI. I believe this gives life its greatest meaning.
Sam followed up on this tweet, explaining that it revolves around two possibilities. First, the simulation hypothesis, or second, the challenge of pinpointing the critical moment when the takeoff actually begins. I'll be focusing on the second point for now, as it's far more intriguing. The main idea he's highlighting here is how, on this graph, you can clearly see a red line rising steeply. The challenge with the concept of the singularity is that we can't precisely determine when it might happen. If a super-intelligent AI suddenly began achieving extraordinary feats, that could be the point where we suspect the singularity has occurred. However, identifying the exact moment this happens is incredibly difficult. As Sam points out, it's impossible to pinpoint the exact moment when the critical phase of the takeoff is happening. Interestingly, Sam Altman has addressed this topic before. Back in 2023, he remarked that having short timelines and a slow takeoff would be a prudent approach. However, he noted that how people define the start of the takeoff might create a different perception. Essentially, he was discussing how the takeoff phase of AI development might unfold. The preference is for a slow and steady progression within a shorter timeline, as this helps avoid being caught off guard by rapidly advancing AI capabilities. He also elaborated on this idea in an interview from 2023. He explains why this is crucial for several reasons, which I'll dive into shortly.
How far away do you think AGI is? He said, Sam will probably tell you sooner than you thought.
The closer we get, the harder time I have answering, because I think that it's going to be much blurrier and much more of a gradual transition than people think. If you imagine like a 2x2 matrix of sort of short timelines until the AGI takeoff era begins, and long timelines until it begins, and then a slow takeoff or a fast takeoff. The world I think we're heading to, and the safest world, the one I most hope for, is the short timeline, slow takeoff. But I think people are going to have hugely different opinions about when and there you kind of like declare victory on the AGI thing.
There's a blog post on Less Wrong that explains this concept in more detail. Essentially, a slow, continuous takeoff is much safer than a fast, discontinuous takeoff when transitioning to extremely powerful AI systems. To move from an ordinary world where AI has limited capabilities to one where AI is incredibly powerful, we must ensure this process happens safely. We can't just introduce a super-intelligent AI into society overnight. Instead, we need a gradual and well-managed transition. For a successful shift to advanced AI, safety and governance efforts must keep pace with, if not surpass, AI capabilities. A fast, discontinuous takeoff where AI capabilities suddenly leap forward in an unpredictable manner poses significant risks. Ideally, every time we develop a new AI model, we should predict its capabilities accurately, maintain control over those capabilities, constrain them when necessary, use those insights to inform future models. The primary concern with a rapid takeoff is that it doesn't give society enough time to adapt to the advanced capabilities. This could lead to destabilization. Imagine an AI suddenly capable of performing billions of tasks across industries. It could disrupt economies, industries, and jobs, causing chaos. For instance, once we reach the singularity, the point at which AI surpasses human intelligence, concepts like money and traditional labor could fundamentally change. Even now, we can look back 100 years and see that the nature of work has transformed drastically. Similarly, in an AI-dominated economy, jobs and industries may be uprooted, and society will need time to adjust. Gradual progress ensures individuals can transition careers smoothly. Businesses can adapt to new challenges and opportunities. Governments and institutions can coordinate responses to emerging risks. Advanced AI systems are not only more capable but also more dangerous. Without a gradual approach, we may lose the ability to study and evaluate their impacts effectively. That's why Sam Altman and others emphasize the importance of slow, continuous takeoff, allowing society, businesses, and governments to prepare for this transformative shift safely and responsibly. That's why he's saying this is going to be a really important call. There are two potential timelines we're looking at. One is a short timeline where things progress steadily, but at a faster pace, and the other is a longer, more gradual timeline. I feel like we are already experiencing the faster timeline, not slowly, but more quickly than we might have expected. The progress is more gradual, and the advancements don't seem overwhelming, which is actually a good thing. It gives governments and people time to react. We can still conduct studies on how AI will be integrated, and we have the opportunity to develop programs that are effective without having to rush through drastic policy changes to help people adapt to the new AI-driven economy. This is the scenario we want, and I believe this is the one we're currently in. Things are moving quickly, but they don't feel rushed, which is exactly the balance we need. The other scenario, where it takes a long time to take off, is unlikely. As Sam Altman has pointed out, the singularity is closer than we think. I've previously discussed the importance of having slower takeoff speeds. This approach gives us more time to empirically solve safety issues and make necessary adjustments. One key aspect they highlight is reducing the compute overhang. For example, if you have access to $7 trillion worth of compute and decide to run a new model, moving from a $10 million training run to a $1 billion training run significantly increases the chances of achieving advanced capabilities in the trillion-dollar scenario, assuming it even happens. There are also some other unexpected developments happening right now. The second part of this discussion is also quite intriguing, as Sam Altman delves into a concept I haven't explored much before, but it's undeniably fascinating. He brings up the simulation hypothesis, which, as he mentions, is something that's been touched on earlier, but he doesn't dive into it deeply. For those unfamiliar, the simulation hypothesis was proposed by philosopher Nick Bostrom. It suggests that our entire universe could actually be a computer simulation created by a highly advanced civilization. The core idea behind this is, and just hear me out, it's quite mind-blowing in a good way, is that if a civilization reaches a level of technological advancement where they can create highly detailed simulations of reality, they might go as far as simulating their own past. And if that's possible, then statistically speaking, it's more likely that we're living in one of these simulations rather than the original base reality. As we continue to develop more advanced AI and computing systems, we can't be sure if we're experiencing these technological advancements for the first time or if we're actually in a simulation that's recreating this historical period. In the context of Sam Altman's tweet, it's really a question of whether we're living in a real universe approaching the singularity or whether we're simply simulating that moment. And that's why he mentioned that he's uncertain which side of the debate he falls on. Nick Bostrom discusses how we're currently in a pivotal period of history. He suggests that the next 10 to 15 years could be crucial in determining the future of humanity. According to Bostrom, this moment in time is incredibly significant for shaping what's to come, making it a fascinating and critical juncture. This notion further supports the simulation hypothesis.
It is weird because it looks like we are very close to some key juncture, which you might think is prima facie implausible. So there have been thousands of generations before us, right? And if things go well, there might be millions of generations after us, or people living for cosmic durations. And out of all of these people that you and I should happen to find ourselves just next to this critical juncture where the whole future will be decided. It is striking. That seems to be what this model of the world implies. And maybe that is an indication that there is something slightly puzzling or implausible about it, that there's maybe some more aspects to understanding our situation than is reflected in this naive conception of the world and our position in it. And you might speculate what that is. I mean, I have this earlier work on the simulation argument and stuff like that.
Simon recently discussed this topic at length on Lex Friedman's podcast, and it was a fascinating conversation. He explained how we now have the ability to create incredibly realistic virtual worlds, like those in video games, and how immersive they can be when experienced through VR headsets. But what's even more interesting is that this immersion could soon go even deeper. In the podcast, he uses the square root function as a metaphor to explain a broader concept. For instance, the square root of 4 equals 2, which is simple enough. But the square root of 2 is approximately 1.414, which is a bit more complex. Then, the square root of -1 brings us to imaginary numbers, opening up an entirely new realm of mathematics. His main point is that sometimes, even simple concepts like the square root function can lead to discoveries that reveal entirely new dimensions of reality. Just as the square root of -1 led to the concept of imaginary numbers, the increasing ability to create more realistic simulations might force us to question the very nature of our own reality. With this pattern, where simple ideas lead to profound revelations about reality, he suggests that more people might start considering the simulation hypothesis seriously. Given that he recently tweeted about the simulation hypothesis, it seems he's leaning in that direction.
Simulated worlds. Let me ask you a pothead question. Does this increase your belief, if you ever had one, that we live in a simulation? Maybe a simulated world generated by an AI system?
Yes, somewhat. I don't think that's the strongest piece of evidence. I think the fact that we can generate worlds should increase everyone's probability somewhat, or at least openness to it somewhat. But, I was certain we would be able to do something like Sora at some point. It happened faster than I thought, but I guess that was not a big update.
Yeah, but the fact that, and presumably it'll get better and better and better, the fact that you can generate worlds, they're novel. They're based in some aspect of training data, but when you look at them, they're novel. That makes you think how easy it is to do this thing. How easy it is to create universes. Entire video game worlds that seem ultra realistic and photorealistic. And then how easy is it to get lost in that world? First with a VR headset and then on the physics-based level.
Said to me recently, I thought it was a super profound insight, that there are these very simple sounding but very psychedelic insights that exist sometimes. So the square root function. Square root of 4, no problem. Square root of 2, okay, now I have to think about this new kind of number. But once I come up with this easy idea of a square root function that, you can kind of explain to a child and exists by even looking at some simple geometry, then you can ask the question of what is the square root of -1. And this is, why it's a psychedelic thing, that tips you into some whole other kind of reality. And you can come up with lots of other examples, but I think this idea that the lowly square root operator can offer such a profound insight and a new realm of knowledge applies in a lot of ways. And I think there are a lot of those operators for why people may think that any version that they like of the simulation hypothesis is maybe more likely than they thought before. But for me, the fact that Sora worked is not in the top 5.
Now, if you're curious about some more unbelievable predictions and events that might unfold soon, stay tuned. I'll dive deeper into Sam's statement in just a moment. You definitely won't want to miss this. It's mind-blowing and almost impossible to imagine right now. But here's the thing. Rayo has been consistently forecasting many of the developments we're witnessing today. So, with that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Some individuals, like Gary Marcus, believe that Sam Altman is simply overhyping things. Marcus points out that Sam has this remarkable talent for suggesting we're on the verge of achieving AGI, without ever directly stating or committing to it. He does this even amidst the recent departures from his company. Marcus calls this ability, "Thanks for watching." Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.